Namaskaram. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Gurubhyo Namaha Siddhi Vinayaka Namaha Hari Om. My name is Tarvai Subramaniam, known as Kumar. I have given a lot of talks on various subjects like Anmiga, mythology, logistics, supply chain management, and also some stories for the kids, etc., etc. And I think many have liked it, and many have shared it, and many have subscribed. Today the subject I've chosen is again on logistics and planning. When we say logistics and planning, what does it mean? Now, anything that we have to do, there has to be a plan that has to be executed in the beginning. For example, if a lady has to do a kitchen work tomorrow morning, she lays down her plan in the night before going to bed, so that she knows exactly what she has to do in the morning and what preparations are needed in advance so that the kitchen work is completed on time. The same thing happens in an organization, that everybody has to plan in advance what they have to execute the next day so that the work before the close of the day is completed by them. Now, there are a lot of examples that will fit into this. One such examples I am giving from my own life. I was the executive director for the first private berth in India, known as B6 at the port of Kandla, going back to 1994. Now this berth was allotted to one of the Bangkok-owned company, and we were to develop this berth with 2 cranes of 20 tons each from Tata's, and we had to increase the output of the berth from a 24 hours time of 1,500 tons close to 5 figures within 6 months' time. Now, knowing Kandla and having worked there in the past, it was a mammoth task to complete. And I would say that in the first 6 months, with various logistics improvement which was done locally with the assistance of the union, the port, the labor, etc., we did touch the magical 5 figure. But the owners were not satisfied with that, and they wanted to cross more than 20,000 tons a day in 24 hours. So suddenly one day I received a message. They have decided to send sensor connected conveyors which can move longitudinally and laterally in the berth, and they are tire mounted. And they said that, Mr. Subramaniam, it is your job to see that this is placed in position and the ships will have to work with it. I went back to them saying that this conveyor will not work in the port of Kandla. The owners were totally upset and angry with me, saying that, what business you have got to say about it? Your job is only to execute. My reply was that if I am your nose, eye and ear at the port of Kandla, and if I have got enough experience behind me as a shipping man, this will be a failure project. Somehow, they were not willing to listen to what I was trying to tell them, and they invested in crores, and the equipment was moved to Kandla with a delegation coming from Bangkok consisting of some NRI Indians as well as some foreigners, technical people. So after landing the conveyors, they started assembling the whole thing, and finally a D-Day was booked, where they wanted the chairman, traffic manager, general manager, chief engineers, everybody to be present in the night around 9 o'clock so that they can do the operation and show to the port of Kandla that how effective this conveyor is going to be. I was standing with the chairman and he asked me only one question, TSS, is it going to work or not? And my reply to him was, sir, it is a failure. And we kept quiet. The cargo that we were to load on the ship was soybean meal, which is a very light material. And at the time when the operation started, the ship was empty and right up because it was a high tide. The conveyor had to be adjusted to that height, and they started putting the cargo in the side. The cargo went halfway, and after that it was not climbing up, even though the conveyor was working. And with the heavy wind of 40 kilometers, which is always there in the port of Kandla, the cargo was flying around. So they tried it for nearly an hour or two. That they said, let us stop now, because after half an hour the low tide will start, so we can do it during the low tide. So within 2 hours, the low tide started, and the ship, which was right up, went right down. Now they started adjusting the conveyor again, but they found that the conveyor cannot reach into the ship hold to put the cargo through. Another 2 hours was wasted, and finally they said, pack up, this is not going to work in the port of Kandla. So the chairman, the traffic manager, GM, everybody left. And the chairman said, TSS, you seem to be right, and he went off. So the foreigners came to me and said, Mr. Subramaniam, why we were not told that this port doesn't have a lock gate and that we are working on a port where the tide runs around 7 meters up during high tide and 7 meters down during the low tide. I said, my dear gentlemen, this is not my fault. Principals have been told right in advance what is the problem in Kandla port, but they had not listened to my sincere advice, and they came unplanned to this port with a sort of a conveyor which will never work here. And gentlemen, these conveyors were lying in Kandla for nearly 2 years, rusting out, and finally they were sold as scrap. So if you see something here, a planning has to be done in advance. And preferably, when you do the planning, you must take the local guys into confidence, because they know the geographical conditions, the weather conditions, the labor conditions in that area, so that your planning can be done efficiently. So planning and logistics always go shoulder to shoulder. Thank you very much. We will continue with planning again next week. If you like this talk of mine, please share, please subscribe, and please pass it on to others. Thank you very much.